Alright everyone, Nilou and Albedo's banner announcement has just been dropped. Quite surprising to me because I was expecting it to be at least like tomorrow or until Thursday or something. But it's all good now because everyone can kind of like start to prepare to see whether or not they should pull for Albedo, Nilou, or just go ahead and save for Nahida. Now as usual guys, we're going to be having a video discussing the 5 major considerations you need to take into account before going ahead to pull for Nilou or Albedo, because the goal of the video is just that, to help you make the best decision possible on your account. So without further ado, let's just jump right into the video. First off, we'll discuss about Nilou. Now if you haven't watched my Nilou video talking about whether or not she's actually worth for you to pull, I have made a very in-depth video talking about that, plus going through her specific build, so you can go ahead and check out the video right after this. But basically I have to say that Nilou is a very niche character, because as I'm sure many of us have already known, she only technically works in Bloom team. Now of course you can go ahead and put her on other reaction teams, but you're going to be missing out on basically most of her kits, as a skill and passive talent resolve around her using in Bloom reaction team, resulting in not just her playstyle to be limited, but the amount of team that you can build around her is very little as well. Because as of right now, I can only see one best team that Nilou can run in. If there are of course any other team, please let me know down in the comment section. I would love to hear more of your thoughts. But then since of course Nahida is not released as of the moment that Nilou arrived, we basically have to wait until Nahida arrives to get the maximum potential out of Nilou, as well as the fact that Nahida is right after Nilou's banner, plus she is also a 5-star character, therefore there's gonna be a back-to-back 5-star character that you would want to pull for your Nilou. And then there's of course Kokomis as well, who is a 5-star character who have just passed the banner in our last patch, so if you don't have Kokomi on your account, I'm sure it's gonna be at least a few months before she comes back. Plus she is another 5-star character, so there you go, you're going to be having to invest quite a lot into that too. And so we can see that Nilou is not going to be a free-to-play friendly character because she requires a lot of your team requirement. Therefore I would say that she's always going to be a very much preference character, so it only works if you really love her as a character in order for you to invest as best as you can into Nilou. Not to mention her playstyle as well, which revolve around Bloom team only, so if you don't like Nilou, you're going to be having to put up a lot with that. However, all of that aside, looking on the bright side, since she is a niche character, her gameplay is going to be very unique. Because for me personally, first of all, it's not just that I love Nilou's character, so of course I'm going to be pulling for her, but the fact that her kits is all around Bloom team, making her in the niche that whenever it comes to Bloom, we're always going to be thinking of Nilou, making her going to be the best in her niche, which makes it a very unique thing about Nilou. So as we've mentioned, meta playing around Nilou's team is of course not going to be a thing, because we've already got so many good top tier team that we can run to beat, for example, the Abyss. So now it basically comes down to how much preference in terms of which character you use, and that's where the fun comes in with Nilou. Now on to Albedo, the character that haven't been back in almost a year. Congratulations to those who have been waiting for him for quite some time, because as of right now, Albedo is still a very good character through my analysis in this video I posted the other day, because his off-field damage capability is still one of the best in the game right now, plus the fact that he is one of the most free-to-play character to run in all of Genshin Impact. You're going to be having quite a lot of benefit when having him on the team, so it's kind of like a polar opposite to how Nilou is playing. Furthermore, the fact that his passive talent gives your team elemental mastery of up to 125 EM is actually pretty good for most of the Dendro reaction team or Dendro characters requires to have EM on your team, so Albedo is gonna hold his value for a long time. Now the only thing that stops Albedo from reaching his full potential is actually his element, which is kind of a bummer because Geo element is still gonna be one of the least popular elements in Genshin Impact, as there is almost no reaction can be done with this element. Therefore many of the time other support character is picked over Albedo. So of course, even though he is a very good character, it doesn't mean that he is a must pull as an off-field character for the time being, as we still have many other good off-field damage dealer on Genshin Impact. So once again, Albedo is still one of the preference character that player would go for, but in reality reality, it can't be denied the fact that having Albedo on your team will make your life a lot easier when it comes to AoE or field damage being done to your opponent, because whenever you're in the abyss, sometimes you don't really have to do too much and you already realize that most of your opponents already been killed due to Albedo or field damage. Now, moving on to the 4-star character appearing on the banner themselves. It's not too surprising to see this 4-star character coming onto the banner because we've kind of predicted almost right in our prediction video, but we have predicted Beidou and Xiangling to may have the appearance on the banner because obviously Beidou hasn't been back since patch 2.4, so it's almost a guarantee that she will be on. Now of course Beidou works well with Nilou as a taser character on your account, however Nilou herself will almost never run in any other reaction team, so of course you're not going to be using Beidou with Nilou. However, having Beidou constellation is very good and she's for sure going to be valuable in future Dendro reaction teams as well, so trying to C6 Beidou is going to be a win on your account. Xiangling here of course is always going to be a win for anyone who gets her constellation because of course you want to C6 her also, and yes, you won't be using her with Nilou. You can of course use Xiangling along with Albedo and run with other character on the team, for they both will be doing a massive amount of off-field damage for your team. And then of course Barbara was someone who I have not predicted, but then it makes a lot of sense for her to be on this banner because Nilou needs Barbara, especially on the account that don't have Kokomi, because without that you're almost not going to be having anyone to run in Nilou's Bloom team that have good healing as well as hydro application. Now of course Barbara is only like the last resort that you have to use if you don't have access to Kokomi, because the thing with Barbara is that even though her healing is very good for your team, her hydro application is not that great as it has very little AoE range. Plus Barbara constellation isn't too great, so she's just going to be here for when you don't absolutely have any other option to run with Nilou's team. So overall, the 4-star characters on these banners are really good. Xiangling's and Beidou's constellations are the things that you really want to get, and of course Barbara here is more for Nilou than Albedo, so hopefully if you're pulling on Albedo's banner you don't really get Barbara, unless you love her and want to get her more of course. Now moving on to the weapon banner, this is actually very good, especially for the people who want Nilou's weapon, or I would say this is just the best situation possible, because aside from Nilou's BIS option, you're having the Jade Cutter, which is literally one of the best universal 5-star sword that you want on all of your account. This sword works on literally every single sword character, even if they are supports or a DPS. Not to mention, it does give HP scaling, therefore works well with Nilou's as well, so it's basically a win-win situation if you do kind of lose to Nilou's BIS. Now the only important question is that is it going to be worth it for you to go for Nilou's weapon? Because looking at it, it is rather niche right now of giving your character full HP, plus it does give EM support to your team. So this sword works on characters that scales basically on full HP, which is like Nilou, and we only have Nilou as pure HP scaling character for the time being, I believe at least until Layla, who benefits off of this weapon as well. Now after that, I don't know how long we're going to be having any HP scaling characters, so technically speaking this weapon is only for Nilou for the time being. So of course, if you're going to be willing for Nilou and you love her, this is actually a win. But for those who are considering, I would say that this weapon banner is still pretty good. If you do have the spare Primo Gems to try and get the weapon, losing to a Jade Cutter is still a win. Not to mention the 4-star weapon, guys. This is really good 4-star weapon. We've got the Sack Bow that is perfect for support character. There's also the Dragon's Bane for Xiangling on the banners as well, and then we have our Rain Slasher, which is okay, but if you do have any support character that runs with EM, it's a decent weapon also. Not to mention the 2 new 4-star weapon coming onto this banner, which is actually a win for all of us if we do get this as well, because these 2 weapons are really good. I won't be going in depth and too much into this weapon, and I'll make a separate video testing out this weapon for us, otherwise this video is going to drag on too long. But overall, most of the weapons that you pull on this weapon banner, you will be able to find at least some use, especially the 5-star weapons. Now of course, I'm not suggesting that you put your Primo Gems on the weapon banners, because weapon banners are still technically a trap and it is kind of like a waste of Primo Gems, and better yet save for other characters. So of course this is gonna be down to your decision to be pulling on it or not. And then now we want to discuss on the future banners after Nilou and Albedo as well, because as we've known, Nahida is right after. And as far as any Archon goes in Genshin Impact, you don't really want to miss on the Archon's power, because Hoyoverse always makes them to be one of the best characters in the game. Not to mention we're lacking a lot in Dendro character right now, so Nahida is very good in filling up the spot. And of course we don't have her official information yet, but from the leaks info that we have already got, she's basically really good in terms of a sub DPS and support Dendro character, so I don't think anyone would want to miss out on her. Therefore, assuming that you will be going for Nahida, you really want to consider hard in terms of whether you should spend your Primo Gems on Nilou or Albedo, even though they are really good character as we've discussed in the sections above. Not to mention any of the reruns character that may make the appearance in patch 3.3. Now most likely we're only gonna be seeing Nahida as a new character, so the second phase of patch 3.3 is gonna be a double rerun once again. So if you're really hard on your Primo Gems right now and you don't actually know which character to go for yet, better yet wait until the 3.3 patch livestream, which is gonna be on for like in 2 weeks time, so that you know fully which character on the rerun is gonna be returning, because those characters might be the ones you want more than Nilou and Albedo for the time being. So as always, making the good decision in terms of Primo Gems, especially if you're a free-to-play player, is very important. And so guys, that's all I have to say in this video. I hope that it have been useful to you, and of course if you do have any other question, leave it down in the comment section and I will get to you there. If you're new to the channel guys, be sure to subscribe and join my Discord server, as I usually hold a lot of giveaways to help you guys get the characters that you want. And now if you're still wondering whether or not Nilou is a worth it pull for you as well as her best potential build, then don't forget to check out this video right here, as I'm sure it is going to be very useful for you. With that guys, I wish you a super day and I will catch you on my next video.